inquiry. And of course it was set up in response to the anger that was felt over the tapping of people's phone messages and the intrusion that there was into people's private lives, all in the interest of the profit of the media monopolies, particularly News International, Rupert Murdoch's particular stable. He proposed, as a typical member of the establishment, something that is a bit self-contradictory, which is self-regulation by the industry, provided that it's independent of the owners and of politicians. Now, this is the best that you can say about a very modest proposal. And yet, you would have thought that he had proposed public disemboweling of the newspaper owners, which I think would have got more support. Because the owners are up in arms about this. They're talking about state control of the media. They're talking about a slippery slope in that area. And David Cameron has started to echo what the newspaper owners are saying. In effect, he's doing for the media, the capitalist media, what he did for the private banks. To hell with the victims, and we have to maintain the wealth and power of the media and of the banks. We've got a media oligopoly and a banking oligopoly. It's concentrated and centralized, and it wields huge power in society. The banks sparked the current economic crisis, and yet they have been successful in getting all of the establishment parties to accept that this was in fact a crisis of public spending. And so they have prescribed cuts in public ownership, public sector spending, when what we should be seeing is public ownership of the banks. The kind of public ownership that has been used is simply a ploy to treat these banks as though they were sickly infants that have to be nursed back to health by public funds and then returned to the crooks who ran them into the ground in the first place. These are the banks that missold payment protection insurance. This is a form of fraud. They're the ones that fiddled the LIBOR interest rates, another form of fraud. And they're also the ones that speculated on subprime mortgages and commodity derivatives. And all they do is gorge themselves on the profits, and yet we're told we're all in this together and we have to tighten our belts. Well, not everybody has to tighten their belts. The richest 1% will all be getting a £40,000 present next April, and every April after that, as a result of the cut in the top rate of income tax from 50% down to 45%. We're not in it together with people like Starbucks, Vodafone, Philip Green, Bono, and all of these other rich parasites who pay very little tax in this country despite making all of their money here. Starbucks claims that it has not made any profit in Britain despite having a huge turnover. It hasn't made any profit for 15 years. Now, no capitalist firm would continue in business if that was the case. But we're told cut the corporation tax because it doesn't raise much money. If it doesn't raise much money, why are they demanding that it be cut? They're also saying at the same time that we should be competitive on tax. They mean competitive between different countries. And this effectively would mean a race to the bottom when the government in every country would say, we have to attract rich people, we have to attract capital, so that we have to cut corporation tax, we have to cut income tax on the rich. The Morning Star says that we should be nationalising the banks, that we should be taking them into public ownership. If it's good enough for Hugo Chavez in Venezuela to do it, then it should be good enough for us to do it in this country. We should be using the bank's profits, which at the moment are being taken out of the country and invested in quick profit schemes in the rest of the world. We should be using that to invest in the economy. We've got 1.8 million families in Britain that are stuck on council house waiting lists. This would be the best possible way to effect a change in the economic circumstance, because you would not only be, if you had a council house building programme, you would not only be meeting the urgent need of these families, but you would be putting building workers back in jobs, and the money that they would be paying in tax would be then used to fund the welfare spending that is necessary. And on the media, we should not be having a situation where a small handful of transnational corporations, particularly News International, hold several newspapers, TV channels, radio channels, not only in Britain but right across the world. We should not have more than one paper, one radio station, one TV channel for any particular company or individual. We should be pooling advertising income or taxing it in order to fund a commitment to democratise ownership of the media and give support to community newspapers and radio stations. The Morning Star, which is being supported at this evening's event, is owned by its readers. It's a cooperative. It's not a capitalist firm that exists in order to make profits. And on January the 1st, the newspaper will be celebrating its 83rd anniversary. They always say that the only two things that you can be sure of are death and taxes. There's a third one, and that is that there will be financial problems for the Morning Star. But despite those financial problems, we see it as important to turn outwards and to make the Morning Star essential to growing numbers of people. And I know that Mohinder will have something to say about that over a development that has taken place today. We have to increase the influence, the financial strength and the service that the Morning Star gives to working people throughout Britain. And of course, comrades, this is a political question, and there is a vital role for the Morning Star readers and supporters groups, and I'm particularly glad that our Leicester group, supported by our good friends in the Indian Workers Association, have made such a success of this evening's event. And I hope that increasing numbers of you will be helping to raise funds for the Morning Star and will be helping to sell it. All three of the ruling of the main parties in Britain worship the City of London. They bow down to the banking and media conglomerate. Strengthening the Morning Star is part of the battle of ideas that is necessary, because the battle of ideas is part of the battle against capitalism, it's part of the battle against imperialism. I was in London this morning at the Latin American conference, where around about 300 activists had turned up to show their solidarity with Venezuela, with Cuba and with Nicaragua. They were rejecting imperialist domination, but in fact most of them still rely on pro-imperialist papers every day for their news and for their comment. We need a daily paper that challenges imperialism and neoliberal politics. We need an alternative that champions socialism and international solidarity. That is the challenge that faces Morning Star supporters, and it's a challenge that we must win, comrades, and I know that with the valiant efforts of people like you gathered in this hall this evening, I know that it's a challenge that we will win, comrades. Thank you very much.